Let's now move on to our third and final main topic today. And our third and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Connor Critic, who writes, "Hey, John. I was wondering if you have heard the news that Hartley Sawyer, who plays Ralph Dibny, or Elongated Man, on The Flash, has been fired after some racist tweets that he posted on Twitter. As a fan of the show and that character, this really upsets me. I was looking forward to seeing more of him in season 7, so I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on this. Thanks, and bring on the filthy." All right. Thanks a lot for sending this in, man. And I'm sure this will be one of the most non-controversial, non-divisive issues that we could possibly talk about and discuss here on the John Campea Show. For those of you who've not heard about this, yes. Hartley Sawyer, who of course plays Elongated Man, it's not that he put out new tweets. He didn't just jump on Twitter and say some things. What have come to light is a number of some would call racist, sexist, some homophobic, some violent, a lot of ill-advised tweets that he had put out from anywhere between 8 to 6 years ago, before he started working with CW. In response, CW has let him go, and he is not going to be on the show in season 7. This raises, and I should really say re-raises, a whole issue about, and very relevant to things that are going on right now and today, about, at what point do we hold somebody accountable for something that they wrote? How long ago is it still something we consider? And then how severe should things be? How severe should they not be? And of course, we just went through this whole thing with the James Gunn situation. I mean, we just went through the whole thing with James Gunn, right? Let me say this. Once I read the story about, and by the way, I love Elongated Man. I didn't like him at first on Flash. I love the character. I grew to love that character on the show. So just let me say this. And I liked Hartley's portrayal of the Dibny character. I really do. That said, when the first came out, I thought, okay, there are a couple of tweets. But as I dug into it, you realize actually there were a lot. And a lot of them are, I'm not going to read them verbatim on this show, but you can go and find them yourself. There are a number of them that are particularly violent, like kind of encouraging violence against women, and just there's a lot of stuff. So that brings us to the question then. Should Warner Brothers had fired him? I'm going to say some things now that will probably upset everybody, because I want to present both sides of my brain on this, all right? So just all I ask is listen with an open mind, because I'm going to present why my one side of my brain is thinking one thing and why the other side of my brain is thinking the other, okay? So in no particular order, let me just throw my warring sides of my brain on this, okay? On the one hand, I think, no, you shouldn't fire him. That is not an endorsement of what he tweeted. They were terrible. It was stupid. The stuff he tweeted was terrible and stupid. But on the one side of my brain, I think you shouldn't fire him, because at what point do we say, look, you got to acknowledge that we change over time. And if we act and think one way 10 years ago, that doesn't mean we act and think that way today. All that kind of stuff. A good analogy is this. A kid gets caught stealing, by kid, I mean, I don't know, an 18-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid, whatever, gets caught stealing a roll of Lifesavers in a store, and he gets caught. And they go, all right, you got caught stealing the Lifesavers. So we're going to cut off your hands. We in North America would go, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, time out. Yeah, kid stole life. Bad kid. Wait, we're going to cut off his hands? What, are you saying it's okay to steal? Are you saying it's okay to walk into someplace and take something that doesn't belong to you? No, I'm not saying that. The kid should be disciplined, but we're talking about cutting a cut off his hands. There has to be an issue of a measured response to something that happens when something happens. A measured response. Are we saying, and I'm not saying yes or no, I'm asking the question, are we saying that saying something as stupid and as damaging as he did 6, 7, 8 years ago, are we saying a measured response to that is taking his lifelong career away from him? Is that a measured response? Maybe some people would say it isn't. Maybe some people would say it is. But I think it's something we at least have to ask is that a measured response? And I don't, because listen, I'll tell you right now, this guy's never going to work again. He's never going to, I'm not saying whether he should or shouldn't. I'm just telling you, he will not recover from this. Hartley Sawyer will never work again in this business. Now, at least not on screen, not as an actor, not on the thing that was his lifelong dream. He won't be able to recover from this. So that's one side of my brain. And I'm telling you both sides of my brain because I want, wherever you are on the issue, whether you're on the issue of fire him, whether you're on the issue of on the side of not fire him, I'm just hoping we can get all of us to at least understand why other people might be on the opposite side of the issue from us. Okay, that's all I'm bringing this up for. So that's the one side of my brain. The other side of my brain, though, looks at it a little bit differently, because the other side of my brain that's warring with that side of my brain is this. Look, you are in business to make money. Some of you watching this show right now own a small business. Maybe it's a hobby business on the side. Maybe it is your full-time job, but many of us have a business, right? And why do we hire employees? We hire employees to help us make more money. That's why you hire an employee. You don't hire an employee for the fun of it. You hire an employee because you believe having their efforts and their work will help you and your company make more money. That's why you have an employee. So the question then becomes, what happens if that employee no longer contributes to you making money, but that employee actually becomes a liability to you and starts costing you money and costing you business? Take all the emotion out of it. From a strict business point of view, what do you do with that employee? An employee who no longer is helping you make money, but they're actually becoming a detriment and a liability to you and is actually going to cost you money. What do? I'll tell you what. Let's say you own a house and you got a front lawn. Your time is valuable. You don't have time to mow the lawn. So you hire Eric, the kid up the street who plays on the high school football team. You hire Eric to come on over and mow your lawn because it's worth it to you. Your time is money. You need your time for other things. So you hire this kid to come and mow your lawn. Great. But let's say that every time Eric comes over and mows your lawn, he dings your car. He runs into your car with the lawnmower and he scratches it. And then he forgets to go through the lawn first to pull out any stones. So he's mowing your lawn, gets into the lawnmower, shoots it out, and breaks your front window. It's just every single time Eric comes over to mow your lawn, it ends up costing you money. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You're going to fire Eric. You're going to fire Eric. That's what you're going to do because you're in business and you hire employees to make your money. And if your employee becomes a liability, forget emotion, forget whatever. It's just business. You're going to remove the employee. And so on the one side of my brain, I'm thinking, hey, look, is firing him and taking away his career, is that a measured, appropriate response? Or is it like cutting off the hands of somebody who steals a pack of lifesavers? But on the other side of my brain, I'm also like, well, look at it from as a business. None of us can deny, including me, including you, none of us can deny that this stuff that's now come out about Hartley is going to hurt that show. It is. It's going to hurt that show. And so as an employer, as a business person, you have to, I can understand them wanting to unemotionally just step back and say it's X's and O's. Is having this guy now continue to be on our show, is that going to be damaging to us? Is he going to cost us money? Are we going to lose sponsorships? Are we going to have a bunch of people angry? And you make the decision to part ways with him. I get that too. Because at the end of the day, you need to protect your business. You need to protect your business. And so I have these two sides of my brain that I'm not really sure what I feel about it. In the bottom line question of should they have fired him? And again, I encourage everybody to go and find the tweets that he wrote, not just the one or two that are just kind of floating around. I'm talking about all the other ones that even the trades won't reprint, won't repost. But go and find and make a decision for yourself. I have to admit, I am undecided. I'm undecided on the whole question of, yes, they should have fired him. No, they shouldn't. I'm still having a tug of war in my head about this. But Rob, it raises a couple of questions to me. It raises a few questions to me. One of the questions that it raises for me is the idea of, what is Warner Brothers? What's the best way for me to put this? What is Warner Brothers' policy? You know, Warner Brothers, of course, owns CW. They're ultimately the main corporate overlord here. What is Warner Brothers' policy here? Because I'm a little bit confused as an audience member. Because on the one hand, I see them taking action to fire this actor off the show because he did something. And again, I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree with them firing. I'm undecided so far, what I think. But I'd like to see a little bit of consistency from Warner Brothers, because while on the one hand, we see them firing this guy for really inappropriate tweets that he did, we've got another actor of theirs, Ezra Miller, actually on video choking a woman and taking her to the ground. And they have said nothing. Now, again, much like the Flash situation, I'm not saying they should fire Ezra Miller, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying that. But I'd like to see a little bit of consistency from Warner Brothers here. It's like, okay, so one guy tweets something, it was horrible, and I don't know whether you should fire him or not, but you decide to fire him. Okay. You got another big star, well, who's a much bigger star than the other guy. You got Ezra Miller on the one hand. You've got video of him choking a woman and taking her to the ground. And you've said nothing. There hasn't been a single statement that's come out from Warner Brothers, from Ezra Miller, from his PR people. Not a single statement about it. So I'm just sitting here. Now, again, what they should do in each situation, I have no call in, and I have no dog in that fight. But I'm just saying, I'd like to see from Warner Brothers a little bit of consistency in what their policy is. We'll fire you for this, but we don't fire you for this. We suspend you for this, but we don't suspend you for that. I just want to see some consistency here. Tell me, Warner Brothers, what is your policy on this? What's your policy? And then just let us see you sticking that policy, whatever it is. I would just be curious to know. But Rob, the other thing that this gets me going on is this, that I do not understand the stupidity of a lot of these studios. Because I will tell you right now, even at AMC, right? We were a piddly little YouTube operation. A piddly little YouTube operation. Who at the time maybe had, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers or something. Like, we were minute. But I would get into the habit of when we thought we decided on somebody we were going to hire, I would take a quick perusal of social media to see if there was any red flags. And I remember one time, this one girl we ended up hiring, there was something in their social media that was a little bit concerning. And before I gave the final thing to hire them, talked to them one more time, and I said, hey, look, I need you to walk me through something because I came across this in your social media. It's a little bit of a red flag for me. Walk me through this. What was going on with that? And then we talked about it, and I'm like, okay, great. So do you want the job? You're hired. Now, I partially did that because I knew that I had to be able to later on, because there's a bunch of piranhas online. If that thing that they had posted on their Facebook page ages ago had come up, somebody was going to make an issue out of it. And I needed to be able to say, yeah, I know about that. Me and we talked about it. And I felt very comfortable with their answer to it and where they are now because I knew about it and we had already addressed it. Boom. Because I had to be able to kill it before it ever got started. How a studio or a television production company, I will never understand this, Rob. You are investing tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars into these movies and TV shows and these properties. These properties are worth tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. They spend millions of dollars on insurance and safety protocols, but they can't spend $500 to hire a college intern to say, hey, we're thinking about hiring this person to be one of the faces of our show. take the weekend and go through their Twitter history and just let us know if there's any red flags. So we can either walk away from hiring them if we think it's going to bite us in the ass, or we can talk with them about it now so that if it comes up later, we can say, yeah, we knew about it and we've already discussed it with them and we felt comfortable with the results of our discussions. How they can spend this much money and not spend $300 on a college kid to say, hey, let us know if there's any red flags. I don't get it. Social media is not some brand new thing that just popped up yesterday. And this isn't the first time that a studio has been compromised because, of course, there was the James Gunn situation as well, that a studio hasn't been compromised because of this. I just don't understand this. And we're always going to see it happen and pop up because there are skeletons in everybody's closet. There are skeletons in everybody's closet. Maybe it was something you put on Twitter. Maybe it was something you said in person in a conversation, but you didn't realize it got recorded. But whatever, we've all got these skeletons in the closet, and why these studios don't take steps to say, hey, let's find out what those skeletons are now. Let's vet this potential actor. So not necessarily so we don't hire them, but so that if there is anything that's problematic, we know about it now and we'll know how to deal with it if it ever becomes an issue in the future. Seems simple to me. I don't understand why they can't do that, but we've all got skeletons in the closet. I want to give you guys an example. I'm going to throw myself out here on this. I want to give you guys an example of the fact that we've all got this. I want to talk about a situation with me. And some of you may have heard of this. I think most of you probably haven't, but I want you to hear this from me. Especially in today's environment and stuff like this. But I want to tell you about this. This is me being about as vulnerable as I get. All right. About 11 years ago, I was a big fan of the first Transformers movie, the first Michael Bay Transformers movie. I was a big fan of it. And then the second Transformers movie came out, and it was awful. I mean, it was bad. And I was really upset about it because I love Transformers, and I was really upset with how bad it was. But one of the things about Transformers 2 that really bothered me, and I went off on it in my Twitter, or not on my Twitter, on my movie review. Now remember, I think this is in 2009. This is around 2009. One of the things that really bothered me about that movie was Michael Bay introduced these two twin Autobots. You remember these guys? The two little twins that they never used again? And what really bothered me was, even as somebody who wasn't like some socially conscious guy, I've never been that guy. I've never been some height of socially enlightened guy. I've never been that, especially at that time. But one of the things that really bothered me was it felt like Michael Bay found every single negative black stereotype that he could possibly dig up. Like, seriously, I don't know what negative black stereotype you can come up with that they didn't use for these two twin Autobot things. And it was, even as somebody who's not socially conscious, that really bothered me. And it bothered me so much that in describing how I felt Michael Bay was trying to portray these guys, John Campea, used the N-word in that review. I did it. Now, I encourage anybody who wants to know the context of it to go back and watch the video. It's still up because I decided I would never take it down. I decided I need to leave it up there. I decided I need to own it, and it needs to be there. So it was much likened unto, like, say, some non-Italian guy being mad at the use of negative Italian stereotypes and saying, oh, director, though, you just had to have your greasy wop in there, didn't you? You know what I mean?
What?
And I know, I'm Italian. So I used the N-word in kind of expressing my disdain for what it was how were they portraying these characters. Because at the time, I justified it in my own head thinking, oh, it's perfectly okay that I use the word because I'm saying it in a good context. You know, we all justify what we do. And in my own head, to me, yeah, that was a justifiable use of the word. I was okay to use that word. of course, later on, I realized, hey, Campea, it's not your place to decide when it is and isn't appropriate to use that word. But at the time, my thinking was, oh, yeah, it's cool that I'm using the word here because of the context. I was angry at the misrepresentation of Black culture in our country. I was angry at the use of negative Black stereotypes in this, and it pissed me off, and I used the N-word. I did. And I didn't even think about it. I did it, and none of my audience, none of my white, Black, Asian, whatever audience raised a single objection to it at the time. And I gave it no more thought. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, like 2 or 3 years later, one of my regular viewers who happened to be Black, one of my regular viewers wrote in one of his regular emails into me, said, I went back, I just went back to watch, because another Transformers movie was coming out. They're like, I went back to watch that old review and I forgot, because it didn't bother me at the time, but I forgot that you used the N-word in that. And I just wanted to let you know that this time, seeing it again, it didn't sit well with me. I'm paraphrasing him. That's not the exact wording he used, but it didn't sit well with me. And when I got that email from him, my first reaction was what a lot of us do. My first reaction was, I didn't write anything yet, but I read it and I immediately felt defensive. Because I'm like, what are you talking about? I was being the hero. I was like, calling out, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it. I'm like, oh shit, you know what? He's right. He's right. But nobody had put that in context for me before. So I remember I wrote him back and I said, you know what? I've never thought twice. I haven't thought about this in like 2 years or however long it had been. I'll take it down. I'm going to take the review down. And then he wrote back and said, no, I'm not asking you to take it down. I'm just saying, can you please make sure that you never do that again? Because I hadn't in the previous 2 years. He just asked me, can you please make sure that you never do that again? And I'm like, yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right. I'm never going to do that again. It's not my place. I learned at this time 7 or 8 years ago. It's not my place to decide when it is or is not okay for me to use a term like that. It wasn't my place. And I learned something. Now, about 5 years ago, I was at AMC. I was still at AMC. It hadn't become Collider yet, I don't think. So somebody else had stumbled across that video that I decided to leave up, that Transformers 2 thing that is still there, and I will leave it there. And what somebody decided to do was to edit out the 2-second clip of me using the N-word. They didn't include anything else. They only included the 2-second clip of that, and they popped it out on Twitter and said, hey, everybody, look at what Campea said. Now, fortunately, 5 years ago, I was very lucky that most people who saw that remembered my review and said, hey, Campea was actually, he didn't mean it in a derogatory way. He didn't all that kind of stuff, but it was still inappropriate that I used it. No matter how I justified it to myself at the time, 11 years ago, that it was okay that I used it, it was wrong that I used it. So that got shut down, mostly because most of the people who saw those tweets said, hey, we understood what Campea meant. He didn't mean anything derogatory. So it got shut down. But about once every year or two since then, somebody else will write to me. I just had another one of my viewers write to me and saying, hey, John, I just saw this. I just saw this tweet of you using the N-word. Again, it was the 2-second video clip. We just saw this again. It's a little concerning. And I personally wrote back to them because he was African-American. And I wrote back to him and said, yep, that happened. I said, but, here's a link to my original review. I want you to go and watch it. And if you feel like after watching that review and hearing me say I was wrong for doing that at the time, if you don't want to be a viewer of mine anymore after that, I understand. I do. Because I thought at the time it was totally cool. I justified it in my head. It was totally cool that I was using that word. Because I was using it the right way, Rob. I was using it the right way, said me. But years pass and you realize, you know what? No, that was not okay. That was not cool. And like to anybody today, maybe I'm sure a lot of you are hearing about this now for the first time. And maybe some of you are thinking, you know what, Campea, I love you, but you use the N-word in a video. It doesn't matter if it was 11 years ago. I don't know if I can watch you anymore. Then all I can say is, okay, I get it. I get it. But I think that just highlights again, Rob, that we live in a time right now where it's skeletons are being dug out of closets. And maybe it's good sometimes that we become aware of them. Maybe it's being done by, there's a lot of people out there right now, Rob, who are weaponizing social media, who want to use social media as a weapon, as opposed to a community building tool. But I tell that story just to reemphasize the fact that we've all got skeletons in the closet. Maybe ones you don't even remember. And Rob, it's to the point that I have, in the last week or two, I have been giving serious consideration to just deleting my Twitter. Just deleting it and staying off it, thinking there's nothing good that comes out of Twitter these days. People just use it to weaponize it and to attack each other and to dig skeletons out of closets. Maybe there's skeletons that need to be aired. I don't know. But this whole thing about the flash firing and all that kind of stuff, it just reminds me that despite what some people will tell you, times change, and they change faster today than they ever have in history. And we develop new experiences. And as we have new experiences, we change and we learn and we grow and we evolve, hopefully. And again, it leaves me in a place of, should they have fired this guy? I still don't know. I could see the argument for not firing him. I could see the argument for firing him. So I don't know. But I just want everybody that when approaching a thing like this, let's not do what I normally do, what most of us normally do, which is a quick knee-jerk reaction, and just pause and think about the larger stuff. Do we have skeletons in our closets? What is an appropriate response? Hey, this company's trying to do a business and this was going to cost them money. I mean, it's such a tangled web, Rob, that everybody wants you to say, what side are you on? Tell me right now, what side are you on? And I'm going to say, like, I honestly, I think this is a complex issue and I haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, Rob, as somebody totally foreign to the concept of getting in trouble on Twitter, I had to say it. I'm sorry. I had to say it. But honestly, you look at this point, do you think this kid should be fired? Can you see why he should? Can you see why he shouldn't? I know. Just give me your quick thoughts on this.
Well, first of all, I think, like you said, everybody's got a life. Everybody's got a past. And I would hope that people are judged on the character that they represent and show now. When our justice system, if you are incarcerated for a crime and you pay your debt to society, when you come out, it's always iffy. Like, if somebody is a felon or something, do we allow them to come back into society? Even if after they've paid their debt, do we wipe their slate clean? Because isn't that what our justice system is supposed to do? Even though that never really happens. But I think that, we live in an age it's weird that people want to play this gotcha game. Gotcha. And I think that I have never judged people by things I've heard that they've done in the past, a long time ago or something. I try and judge people as I know them now. And if I've had a good relationship with them or we've worked well together, and because everybody, like you said, has a past. And that would be like, how far back do you go? Do you go and judge somebody, something they might have done in the 7th grade that was stupid and they're 47 now? Like, how far do you go back? And at some point, people have to stand up and be judged for who they are. Now, those tweets, and there were a lot of them, were stupid. In my case, my tweet was ill-advised. It was stupid. But like what happened to you with somebody, so often people take things out of context and then they get mad at what they see out of context. And it appears, I think, worse than it does. Like in my case, obviously, I retweeted a video that went with what I said. And if you hadn't seen the video, it looked like what I was saying was a little unhinged. I'll admit it. I mean, it looked like I was a little crazy. And people are like, "Are you advocating for this kind of thing?" And I thought that was odd, but I didn't realize that a lot of that the video was gone. And my original tweet, when I took it down after being asked to take it down, by the way, was then it was retweeted, but also without context. So what I had said got amplified in a way that I didn't even mean it to amplify it that way. Still was a very ill-advised tweet. And that's on me. I said a really stupid thing in anger. Never a good thing. But you know, the rest of your life should stand for who and what you are. And I think in the case of your tweet and in the content or your review, you know, you said it in a certain context. So people look at it and go, are we going to get mad for a word that you've used one time in a way that you're trying to make a larger point that's actually a productive point? And what if you had, and that's the thing I think is strange. Now, this actor in The Flash, it was not just one tweet. It was a lot of tweets. And there's certain commonalities and certain themes. But now also, you know, when you're a kid, well, at least younger, it's Mr. Hartley, is that his last name?
Hartley's his first name. Sawyer's his last name.
Oh, probably right. Hartley Sawyer. You know, when you're a teenager, you say a lot of nasty shit. Oops, I've just said shit, and I didn't mean to. But you say stupid, bad things. And like when we were growing up, John, there was no Twitter. There was no social media. So do you crucify somebody for stupid stuff they said 10 years ago? And like, imagine if you're 30, I don't know how old he is, and you're being pilloried for something you said a third of your life ago. That doesn't, what about the growth that you've done as a person? And what does it say about us that we're digging around in people's pasts, trying to find things simply to go after them? I mean, but the point you're making, Sam, I have two minds about it, because the point you made early on about money and your job and representing a company and what you're doing, because that also played into what happened to me. And that's very valid. You know, a company is like, we can't have this. It's tarnished our image of something we spend millions of dollars on. And it's a tough question. I think in the long run, I would like to see companies, I would like to see people step up and have the conversation, because we still are in an evolving time. And how are we going to move forward as a society if we can't? Now it's all or nothing. You know, there's no discussion. There's no nuance. It's like, boom, this person's gone. And like you said, his career's ruined. Did he deserve that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's really that person in real life. Maybe those tweets are representative of him. I don't know him, so I can't say. But when they're out there, they have to be dealt with. And like you said, as a company, what is Warner Brothers' policy? And I think it's always best to get out in front of these things and address them head on. You know, you and I talked after I made this tweet, and like an hour later, I took the tweet down and I made an apology video. I didn't even wait until the backlash happened to me. I apologized because it was the right thing to do. But part of the reason was because you and I had a conversation, you know, and I'm like, yeah, that was dumb. And I did that. And I had to suffer the consequences and all that, which I have done. And I regret what I did. But still, you know, it was dealt with, I thought, handled by the people that I talked to, you and other people I know, and all that. And also my life and work stands for something, and you can go back and look at it and make up your own mind. But I was lucky in that I got out of something like that. I headed it off and I addressed it immediately. And I just think in this day and age, we have to be mature. We have to be adults. And we have to realize, and I'm not saying, do I absolve anyone of their guilt? No. But, I mean, are we going to burn people at the stake and destroy their life forever? I guess it depends what you say. Sometimes maybe people do deserve their lives to be destroyed over something, but it's a tough issue. But I think that we need to learn how to deal with this, because social media is going to go on and on and on. And how are we going to move forward as a society? And these are tough questions, and they need to be asked, and they need to be debated and dealt with.
And again, I think that it just highlights it's complicated, right? It's
very complicated.
It's not as simple. I think we as human beings, we want to make everything as simple as possible. Keep it simple, stupid. And normally that's a good philosophy, but there are some things like this that are tough. So listen, guys, I wanted to put it out to you guys and ask you, what did you think? I asked people, I put this out on Twitter. This is kind of our question of the day. I asked people, Flash actor Hartley Sawyer has been fired from the show for past offensive tweets. If you have seen them, do you think they should have fired him? And you can see it's close. Almost 2,400 people have voted on this, and 58.5% say no, they shouldn't have fired him. 41.5% say yes. It's relatively close. It is a complicated issue that I just hope that whichever side you're on this, you will take a breath and try to understand where the other side might be coming from. And like for me, myself, I'm undecided. Question is, guys, it's a mess of a situation. It's terrible. What do you guys think about this whole situation? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.